Chapter 24. Razor's head jerked back. Varjak had struck his target. But the big Tom was strong. It was only enough to daze him. He stepped out of Varjak's reach and shook his head, as if he couldn't believe he'd been hit. "Enough!" Sallybones shouted. Varjak looked to the top of the alley, but she wasn't there. "Where did you learn that?" her voice demanded from behind him. He wheeled about. There was the faintest shimmer of white, but she was gone again. "Who taught you?" she hissed from somewhere inside his head, and before Varjak knew what was happening, she had him pinned flat on the ground, white bones above him, single blue eye burning into him. He lost the rhythm of his breath, and everything sped up again. He was out of slow time. "Answer me," she said. "Who taught you?" He couldn't move, he couldn't hide. "Jalal," he cried, helpless. Sallybones' one eye glittered like the moon. "Jalal," she said. "Jalal the Paw? He's been dead 100 years. What could you know of Jalal? What do you know?" "Slow time," gasped Varjak. "Moving circles." "You?" Sallybones blinked. Something that might have been fear flashed across her face. "Is it you?" Before Varjak could answer, a long, low growl filled the air. Everyone turned to face her. At the top of the alley, blocking the way out, was a new kind of monster. It was black and bristly, almost as big as a man. Its mouth was full of pointed yellow teeth which dripped with drool. It barked loudly and took a step towards the cats. Have a look at this picture. Oh yeah. Terror ripped through Sallybones' gang. Razor, Luja, Wes, they all bolted. They scrambled up the fire escapes and over the walls, away from the monster, away from the alley. "Come back," screamed Sallybones. "Cowards, we can beat it if we fight together." But they weren't listening. Her gang scurried to safety as fast as they could. The thin white cat shook her head with contempt. She stood up reluctantly, letting Varjak go free. "We'll finish this another time, Varjak Paw," she said. There was a shimmer of white, and she was gone. In a single heartbeat, Varjak and Holly were alone with the monster. It looked confused. It barked at the walls, but didn't try to follow the cats up. "So those Sallybones stories are true," breathed Holly. She shook her head. "I don't know what was going on back there, but I'd swear you'd had them worried." Varjak's head was whirling. Sallybones knew about Jalal. She knew about the way, much more than he did. She wasn't even scared of this monster. "Thanks for keeping quiet about the alley," said Holly. "Come on, let's get out of here before it gets us," she urged. The monster began to lumber towards them. Its big blunt claws clacked on the pavement as it came. It was incredibly powerful. Even its tail looked as though it could knock them senseless. Varjak focused. What would Jalal do? Second skill. Awareness. He looked into its eyes. They were cloudy black. There was pain in those eyes, and there was fear, almost terror, in its scent. It barked again, a deafening sound. Varjak didn't flinch. He just kept looking into its eyes. If he hadn't once stood before a roaring dog, he would have run away. But compared to those metal monsters, this frightened, barking animal was friendly. "What are you doing?" hissed Holly. "Let's go." Varjak looked up. He could probably make it over a wall or onto a window ledge like Sallybones' gang. He gambled instead and trusted his instincts. This time, he wasn't going to run. He wasn't going to panic. He was going to stand his ground and face it down. "Don't be afraid," he said to the monster, in the calmest voice he could manage. It opened its jaws. They were big enough to swallow him whole. "Don't be afraid," he whispered. And then it sprang at him. Slow time. And Holly leaped for cover. Moving circles. But Varjak stood his ground. Shadow walking? Wrong. The monster smashed into him. The world turned upside down, and everything went black again.